Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Haley and you're watching Between the Pages. I have a book review for you today, and that is A Court of Silver Flames. This is the last available ACOTAR book, so I have gotten all the way through ACOTAR. I am halfway through House of Earth and Blood, which is Crescent City 1, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about this today. Now, I don't remember if, like, in my notes, there may be spoilers for Crescent City 1 or more, because I know things that happen in Crescent City. So if you haven't read Crescent City, like the entire series, or read Silver Flames, I would say that you probably shouldn't watch this review unless you are like me and you kind of don't care and you're going to read it anyway. So up to you, but you have been warned. So now we're going to go into my rambly. I have like half a page of notes on my tablet. So my first one is, I don't understand why Az is not living at the townhouse, because like at the beginning when Nesta is taken to the House of Wind, it mentions that Cassian and Az have been like living there as like bachelors basically, because Rhys and Feyre have moved into the River House, and Amryn has her own apartment in Valaris where she spends time with Varian, her summer court prince, as they call him. So I was like, I don't understand why Az isn't living in the townhouse, especially like once Cassian and Nesta like start to fool around and stuff like that, because God, that must have been fucking awkward whenever he was there and like not out on missions, to like hear them fighting and having sex and basically being the third wheel, a la Lucian, which will come to Lucian. But yeah, I don't understand why Az wasn't living in the townhouse at this point in the story. Maybe in the future, maybe he'll live in the townhouse with Gwen, because I really do like him with Gwen. But we'll get to that again later. I am still convinced that Eris is a good guy, okay? Eris Van Sarah, heir to the Autumn Court, is not a bad guy. You cannot tell me anything. I love him. He is one of my favorite of the Van Bros, which is what I call Lucian and Eris. They are the Van Bros because their last name is Van Sarah. But yes, I love Eris. I want more, okay? Like Silver Flames, it's very good for Eris girlies. So just letting you know that up front. I am really curious to see where his story goes. I want to see Baron off with his head. I want to see Eris as High Lord of Autumn. Please, Sarah, please give this to me. Give this to all of us, because Eris deserves it. And so in the previous trilogy, so ACOTAR, ACOMAF, and ACOWAR, the King of Highburn was our big bad. Our next big bad is Koschei, which he's one of the death gods. He, I believe, is a sibling of like the Weaver, the Bone Carver, Bryaxis. So we're dealing with a death god. So I'm pretty sure he's our big bad for this next trilogy, maybe? I don't know. She announced ACOTAR 6, but I don't know if it's going to be another trilogy and then like a novella, kind of like how the original series was before she published Silver Flames. I don't know. I don't know how her mind works. But yeah. Koschei is our next big bad. Eris is a sneaky bastard, and I love him. Just to reiterate, I really love Eris. The way I squealed when Az was like finally on page, I love Azrael. I really do. I love my tortured shadow boys. So yeah, I want Az to be happy, okay? When they're talking, I think it's when she finds the harp and they're talking Gwen said she is researching something for Meryl, who's like the head librarian or whatever under the House of Wind, is talking about different realms. And I was like, oh, okay, here's the setup for Crescent City. Because there's a lot of stuff in here, because I know what happens in the Crescent City books that I was able to pick up on and like kind of like connect the two. Kind of doing that right now, reading Crescent City 1. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here that sets up Crescent City if you know what happens in Crescent City. If you don't, then you're not going to pick up on it until it happens in like book 2, book 3, I think, of Crescent City. But yeah, they talk about different realms, and I was like, this is where she planted the idea. And then also, I'm going to skip ahead real quick. When they go into the prison and they get the harp, it mentions that there's 26 strings, which means there's 26 realms. To my knowledge of what I know currently of the Crescent City Maas verse, I guess, as you can call it, we have Prithian, Crescent City, Hell, and whatever world Throne of Glass lives in. I have not read Throne of Glass yet, so I don't have a lot of knowledge of that series. But I was like, okay, well, that's 4. So there's technically 26 realms, because the harp is meant to like be used to walk through worlds, kind of like how Bryce uses the horn. Again, spoiler for Crescent City if you haven't read it. But yeah, I only know of 4 realms currently. Maybe more will get set up. I don't know, but we'll see. When Cassian goes to the spring court to meet with Eris, and he is like a sneezing, coughing mess, I was like, oh my God, Cass, I feel you. I have seasonal allergies and they suck. So I cannot imagine like living somewhere where it's spring year round. I would much prefer to live in like autumn, because my fall seasonal allergies are not as bad as my spring ones. So I would much rather live in autumn. But yeah, I was like, I feel you, Cassian. Tamlin is not doing well. And I think this is like about when I started to like kind of sort of feel sorry for him. I'm kind of hoping, I saw a theory that like Tamlin is going to gift Lucien spring, and then Tamlin's gonna like go off into the woods and like be a soldier, or just like live in his beast form for the rest of his life. So I'm on board with that, considering the heritage that Lucien has. I could not see him going to Day and like becoming the heir of Day, just because of what happened between him and Baron, Helion, and Lady of Autumn. So I'm on board with that idea. Let Lucien and Elaine live in spring, and she can tend to her gardens and throw parties and everything and whatever to her heart's content. So I'm on board with that. There's this one point, I think it's like after Nesta sees Azriel and Cassian like sparring, because they're trying to like encourage her to like train. And like later on that day, I think she's in the library and she has like a daydream about Azriel and Cassian like with her at the same time. So like a threesome with 2 of the Bat Boys. And I was like, girl, me too. Nesta, me too. Okay. I love Rhys. I love Rhys so much, but I do like Cassian and Az. And I was like, girl, me too. I think we've all had that fantasy or daydream. If not with 2 of the Bat Boys, then all 3 of them. So, just saying. Me too, Nesta. Me too. I love how Emery and Gwen and Nesta, like, bond over smut books. Because isn't that what we're all doing on the internet now? Fawning over these fairy smut books. Other different versions. I mean, I'm not a Fourth Wing girly. I know some people are. If you are, that's cool. I'm not. But yeah, I just feel like we can all relate to that right now. I love Helion so much. I need more of him. Please, you know what I want? I want a novella about Helion and Lady of Autumn and their whole love affair and everything. Helion, oh my God, if I could pick a High Lord to like serve under, it would be Helion. Again, I love Rhys. I do, don't get me wrong, but I really love Helion. I need more of him, quite frankly. At one point, Az and Reese are like going at it, and I was like, oh my god, they're like full on arguing. And I don't remember if this was before or after the bonus chapter set during winter solstice and Elaine giving back the necklace and then almost kissing and him basically getting like ripped to shreds by Reese. I don't remember where that happened, but yeah, Az and Reese like actually go at it and are like full on like arguing, and I was like, oh, there's some tension in the inner circle. There's okay, so if you've watched my review for The Ashes and Star-Cursed King, you will know that my favorite scene of that book was when Oraya dominated Rayan in bed and basically said, like, beg for it, like, beg for me. Nesta has her own kind of thing with Cassian, and I was, like, low-key, like, really digging it. Because, like, at some point, like, he comes and he's like, do you think about me at night? Like, show me what you do when you're thinking about me. And so, you know, she starts touching herself, and Cass is, like, leaning over her or, like, watching her, basically, pleasure herself. And Nesta tells him, you can't touch me, and you can't touch yourself. And I was like, oh my god, yes, Nesta, please, please dom this man. This male, I love that so much. I love it so much when fictional women dom their men, because I'm like, yes, make them beg for it. Make them beg for it. And maybe that just says something about me as a person, but I don't know. But I loved that scene so much. So here's kind of where we get into spoilers that I know personally from Crescent City. So when they're talking about, like, when Nesta makes her weapons, they talk about Gwydion. And I know that Gwydion is the Star Sword from Crescent City that Rune and Bryce both wield. And I know that Gwydion ends up being left in Prythian. So, like, Bryce comes to Prythian with Gwydion, Star Sword, whatever you want to call it, and, like, ends up giving it to Nesta and being like, here, take it. I don't want it anymore. Like, we don't need it. So, again, I would not have caught that if I did not know what happens in, like, Crescent City 3. Okay, so a lot of my reading of Silver Flames was influenced by the fact that I know what happens in Crescent City. So your reading experience or someone else's reading experience is probably going to be a lot different to someone who is not actively in, like, ACOTAR and Crescent City fandom online. So I, like, routinely get things spoiled for me, which is fine. I knew going in anyway that Crescent City 3 is like a crossover for Crescent City and ACOTAR. So I knew that going in. But yeah, so a lot of this is influenced by the fact that I know what happens in Crescent City. I love Asriel and Nesta. I love their relationship, like besties, like bestie goals. I love their dynamic. Like, Az is, like, ready to go, like, to the mat for Nesta, like, multiple times in this book, and I'm like, yes. I love best friends that would kill for each other. I love that dynamic. So I am loving Asriel and Nesta. Again, I know in Crescent City 3, there's, like, a 200-page like section where it's like just Bryce, Asriel, and Nesta, like in the tunnels underneath Court of Nightmares. I don't know, like somewhere under a mountain. So I'm excited to see that because I need more Asriel and Nesta. I also thought it was so adorable that Emery, Gwen, and Nesta have like a sleepover. And they basically, like, make increasingly, like, weird requests from the House of Wind, because it's enchanted, and it, like, really likes Nesta. And I just thought it was so funny. I was like, oh, this is so cute. Like, yes, we're dealing with Koschei and everything like that, we're dealing with the fact that Nesta doesn't know how to control her powers. We're dealing with the Illyrians rising up and like creating a threat. And then we have this like fluffy little moment between like three best friends having a sleepover and like being silly and stuff. So I liked that. I want to see more of Balthazar, strangely. Like the Illyrian that helps Nesta and Emery, like when they're injured and they don't have clothes, and he basically like protects them and like helps them get out of some sticky situations. I want to see more of him. Can we have more Balthazar, please? I don't know. I really liked him. And I felt like Sarah may have introduced him like for a reason. So I don't know what's going on with that, but I do like Balthazar. I want more of him. I did not care for the blood right portion. And I think it was because we were dealing with, you have Cass as an heiress dealing with Brialyn and the crown and everything like that. And then you have Nesta, Emery, and Gwen in the blood right. And then but then I'm like, we've got like 100 pages left and we haven't dealt with the fact that Feyre's probably going to die giving birth to Nyx. Because like, I already knew that was going to happen. But I was like, okay, this is like the last 150 pages. And I know that Sarah J. Maas always like pumps a bunch of shit into the last 150 pages to like keep you hooked till the very end. I knew that going in. But I was just like, there is a lot going on at once. And we're like you'd have like two paragraphs of like Cass as an heiress and Brialyn, and then you'd have like 2 or 3 paragraphs of the blood right, and then we go back to Cass and Az, and then we go back to the blood right. And I was like, this is just too much for me personally. It's making me anxious. I don't know if that was what we were going for. I don't know, but I was very, very anxious for the last 150 pages or so. And then to round it up, we're going to talk about my favorite Van Sarah again, Eris. I love Eris and the fact that Cassian and the rest of the inner circle are kind of catching on to the fact that he's not as bad as he makes himself out to be. I have a feeling that he's like Rhys and Helion, that they wear a mask for certain reasons and certain situations and things like that. But I don't think he's all that, like Cassian doesn't think he's all that bad. And like, I really don't believe like what Moore has said about what happened between her and Eris, like regarding her betrothal and her family. So I'm hoping that when we get to Moore's, either her book or her novella, whichever it's going to be, that we finally deal with this. Because I feel like Eris is not that bad. Because when he goes to the human lands to like see Lucian, Vassa, and Jurian, like at the beginning of the book. And I'm like, well, why would he be there if he wasn't also going to see Lucian and see how his baby brother's doing? Because God knows the last time they were actually face to face and like had a conversation. So I really need to know what's going on with Eris. I don't know what ACOTAR 6 is going to be about. I have a feeling it's gonna probably be Elaine and Lucian's book, because I'm hoping, because like there had to be a reason for Sarah including so much of Eris in Silver Flames if she wasn't going to pay it off like in the next book or so, because I could really see like Elaine, Lucian, and Eris like kind of their stories intertwining in a way, especially if Lucian finds out that he's the heir to the Day Court and he gets really mad about it. So he goes to the Autumn Court and it kind of like leans on Eris for support, because I've always thought that they have the like eldest and youngest like best friend dynamic, or at least they did probably before Jasminda, however you pronounce her name, Lucian's lover, before that whole debacle happened. I have a feeling that Lucian and Eris were actually very close as children, or at least when Lucian was younger. So I love Eris so much. I am definitely one of those girls who I am an as girly with Eris tendencies, because I really do I really do like his character. So yeah, that was my rambly, extremely rambly book review of A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. Like I said, I am halfway through Crescent City 1. I'm liking it okay. It's kind of picking up. I'm really liking Hunt and Bryce's relationship. It is definitely giving Nesta and Cassian vibes, for obvious reasons. But yeah, so it's going okay. I do believe that if you do go from ACOTAR like straight into Crescent City, it is very jarring, like the world and the language and everything. But yeah, I guess I will just see you guys later. Bye.